Hello and welcome to another tutorial, multi-line text in the buyer side. Because there's so much to say about multi-line text in general in Printess, this video will focus on multi-line text in the buyer side. Which means that's definitely not everything you can do with multi-line text, but it just shows the basics and how to set up it properly. So let's start. Multi-line text frames can easily be created by going to the text tool here and then selecting a multi-line text frame. By default, like with other frames, when you switch to the buyer side with the basket on top here, this frame is not editable. To make it editable, you go to the basket tool here and check content. Automatically, a lot of other options will appear, which we will have a look now. So once content is checked, you can go to the text and you can actually start typing. We always should keep in mind that there are two ways to edit text in a buyer side. Inline, like in Word, or form-based, like in an input field. By default, the inline rich text editing is enabled. Rich text editing is the same like multi-line text. So rich text means that text can have colors and fonts and paragraph and character style formatting, which single line text does not support. So by default it's on. If I turn it off and go to that text frame, then I'm now editing the text here in the form field, which I can do, and the text appears automatically here in the preview. Printess has some amazing features when it comes to editing multi-line text in form fields, because the problem begins when we have a headline. So let's make a headline here and then say this headline should have a larger font size and maybe a different color. Pink, of course. So go to the editing, and now you see we automatically get two boxes. One is the headline box, which actually takes the headline style, and the second box is our paragraph, which we also can extend to multiple paragraphs by simply adding a couple of spaces here, and then got another paragraph. So even if you use form-based editing, you still can control a headline and content separate styles. This is important mostly, I would say, for B2B applications. And of course, you can also, if you turn it on, you can also turn it on and off for mobile. But it's highly recommended to leave inline rich text editing always turned on, because on mobile, the real estate on the screen gets pretty little if you show the preview and a large text box. So on mobile, it's very handy to have the inline text editing. Selecting the frame again, and then if we turn on a couple of things like color, size, font, it's actually the same then for the single line text, which I showed you in the video, with some differences. Now we can edit on paragraph level and on character level. We already have uploaded some fonts and a single line text tutorial, so that should work now. Click here, we can select a single letter, and we can actually change the font and the color. If we select an entire paragraph and do not have any other selection, we actually style the entire paragraph, and the selection automatically extends whenever we click on a symbol here. This strategy you can modify when you go to the document again, and then for the document means you don't select any frame, you just deselect everything. Then you are in the document settings, and here on the buyer side settings for the document, you have this restrict text formatting, and it's by default selection or paragraph. That was exactly what I was showing you. Selection means you select a part of the text, you change the color. If I don't select anything, just place my cursor somewhere in the text frame, it applies the current change to the current paragraph. So that's the default behavior. But also you have other behaviors, like always take the entire text for formatting, or take the selection or entire text. Entire text would mean if I am in my frame and I place my cursor anywhere, I even can make a selection, and I change the color, it will apply to the entire frame. And selection or entire frame is the same. You can select, or if you not select, then you actually got the formatting for the entire frame. So selecting the frame again, have a look at the other settings. We will actually look first at horizontal line and vertical line. You can turn this on, and once you do, you got a little bit more control here. So now I can center the paragraph, right align, left align, or justify the paragraph. as well as I can justify the entire text in the frame with vertical alignment. So mandatory does the same thing like in single line text. If you check mandatory here, the user has to edit the text, otherwise they cannot proceed to the basket and get an error. So you definitely need to change something to continue to the basket. Same counts for the other feature, the don't print if not change feature. It's kind of the same like mandatory, but the frame will not be printed if no change has happened. Another option in this list is upload handwriting image, which is also quite a nice feature, because when you have a text frame, you can tick this box and then the user will see the handwriting image section, which means that they can start uploading a handwritten image. So I will select a handwritten image here, and now we can change the contrast here and we can place the image in the frame. So we have handwritten image, and we can also go back to text editing if we want. We also can directly upload images from our phone, which is super handy because then you can take the picture of the handwritten image and directly upload this to Printess. It works in a way that you click on the button and then you scan the QR code with your phone, and that brings you to a site where you can just upload the image. So let's talk about the remaining items here. Paragraph styles. If you tick this, you can actually select from the list of paragraph styles that you have which one should be selectable. In that case, these are the default styles always there with each template, headline and subline. You can create more paragraph styles. There will be separate tutorials and lots in the manual about that. But if we turn this on, then the buyer can now actually change the paragraph style selection here. So I can even select a single paragraph, put it to subline, and have the headline to headline. Very handy, especially also in B2B applications. As you see, we already turn off the color and font selection. Normally, either you want to have predefined styles or you want the user to give the freedom to change whatever they want. It's rarely that you have a mix of both, because then it will not be consistent in the end. So that's about the paragraph style thing. And there's another thing, keep form fields and insert form fields, which will be handled in the text form field section, but would actually be too much for that video here. But that will show you how you can actually have things like Dear Mr. Sommer as a salutation in your text frame, and the user can still move these form fields around. So all of these, more about this in text form field video. Now let's have a look about the crucial problem with multi-line text frames. What happens if the user inserts too much text, more text than actually fits to the frame? Generally in Printess, in the moment we turn on content editability for a text frame, Printess will automatically activate fit text to frame to a mode called reduce font size. So Printess has several strategies and modes how to deal with the problem that there is more text than space in a frame. And there are the classic ones like just shrink it that it fits, or yeah, you can do that on single line or multi-line level, which is not so important for the buyer side, I would say. It's more like for variable data print, where data is coming from a database. So the most important mode here, reduce font size, because it's so easy to understand for the user. You see what it does. So let's go in that text frame here and start typing more than fits in the frame. So have a look on the font size here. We're at 12 point now. So when I enter more text here, the font size goes down to 11 point. If I even enter more text, it goes down to 10 and it goes down to 9. This strategy is super transparent because the user exactly sees what happens. But it's really changing the text format. So even if I remove these empty lines here, it will not automatically go back, because that would be a kind of a weird influence to what the user is doing. So if I want to have this back to my old font size, I definitely need to apply them again. So that's reduce font size, a very handy way of actually solving that problem. So in that example here, now I actually forced a larger font size than it's possible, which will lead to the fact that now not everything is fitting to the frame, but in the moment I type in something, it will actually correct that. But if I don't do so, let me just put this again here to 32, for example, and I leave the frame, it automatically will fit it again. So it's a consistent behavior. The text will always fit in the frame. Always is not completely right, because in this strategy, it always can be that you reach the minimal font size. So if the user enters more and more and more and more text, at a certain moment, this exclamation mark will appear, and when the user tries to put it to the basket, it will actually give them a warning, and don't let it get to order because the text is not fitting the frame. So it's a two-level process of controlling that the text fits. That has actually been tested a lot, and is, I would say, the best way to deal with, especially in the business to consumer area, with the text overflow issue. By the way, since we started to change the format mode for text frames in the document settings to entire text, that's the reason why whenever I was actually trying only to make the headline bigger or smaller, it will format the entire paragraph. That was because we did that. So let me set this back. And by the way, you can change the font sizes which are available to the buyer when you go to the buyer view appearance dialog over here, and then you go to other settings, and there you have comma separated list of all the font sizes you will see in the buyer side. That's important because if you do a poster, for example, you would maybe start with higher font sizes, or you even want to allow the people to print something in 6-point. There's another important strategy you can use to work with text that is too much for the frame. And this you will find in the text tools, and it will appear if you turn off reduce font size, because then you see the out of frame size options here. If I put that to hide, and now I actually see that the frame shrinks. Now the frame will be exactly the size to accommodate the text which is actually in the frame. So the text frame will grow. And there are some elements you can actually add to that. So you can, in the geometry section here in the frame parameters, if you turn on out of frame size, you have this option in both places. You have it here and you have it with the text. But if you have this on, you will see that you got max height and max min height parameters. So you can actually control how small or big the frame should go. The auto size feature is also a very nice option if you have, let me just go to some simple text here. Oh, that's now pretty big, make it a little bit smaller. It's a very nice option if you do something like having a shape like the heart here. Let me add this as a feature, a vector. And now you basically, the text is running inside of the heart, so we can change the shape color from something more like pink. And the moment you now start typing here, it will actually not only extend the text frame, but also the heart, and user can actually just start typing in that and the thing will grow. And here you see, for example, hey, maybe that's too little for, we say, oh no, that's a little bit, that's not really a heart. So we can actually go there and say the minimum size of this heart should be, let's say, whatever, 100 pixel or 200 pixel or 300. So we can make it like this. It looks pretty okay, but if there is more text coming to that, it will actually extend the shape. So all that fancy things you can do with multi-line text. And of course, it's the same in the buyer side, so there's no difference where I show that. Pretty nice. One last thing for the multi-line text, it also in Printess now supports emojis. So if I get my emoji selector here, we can use emojis, which will work pretty well in print output and on the screen. And again, Printess is completely ensuring that this emoji will look exactly the same on screen like in print. So it's not necessarily the emoji you have on your computer. It will be the same on an Android device because we're using the Google emojis. But basically, if you do that on a Mac, iOS, or on a Windows computer, you still will see the emojis from Android. But this is good because it will be printed in exactly the same way. So thanks for listening. I hope you had fun. And yeah, play around with multi-line text. And let us know if you struggle. We are always there to help. Thank you very much.